Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for die-hard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and I wanted to come back and hit you guys with another video. This one breaking down the Marvin Lewis press conference going into the Atlanta game. So if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. This is one of the best Bengals channels out there. You'll find all of your fix right here. I encourage you to still check out some of the others. But we're going to bring it here for the diehard Bengals fans. So if you're a diehard, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And we'll get into Marvin Lewis's press conference. I'm going to break this down for those who are new. I'll let Marvin talk, and I'll give my thoughts on what he says.
You look forward and love this football game this week, and another, fine opponent with a lot of really good players. And so it's got to be an excellent week of preparation for us as we prepare, and exciting thing for our guys, and get opportunity to get back on the winning trail. And another, having to do it on the road again is difficult, but that's what this is all about in the league.
So it looks like Marvin is definitely ready for this game, and it seems like it's going to be a challenge for them on the road, especially after coming off of that loss against the Atlanta Falcons.
You guys obviously know what Mo was.
I'm sorry, not Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, sorry.
He was here. When he went to Atlanta, has he added to his game, or have you seen growth in his game since he moved over?
Well, I think Mo's, he's done, continues to grow as a person. He was still, young guy, and, you see a lot of, great things in what he does. He still gets a chance to handle the football. He still's going to do a great job blocking, and, but he uses his body and does a nice job strong at the catch. And, he has, he's such a great strider, runs hard off the ball all the time, plays very hard.
So it looks like Marvin Lewis gave some pretty decent words for Mohamed Sanu, who was a guy who actually didn't want to leave Cincinnati, believe it or not. I've talked to several guys who knew Mo personally. He never wanted to leave Cincinnati, but he understood that the Bengals were going to prioritize re-signing Marvin Jones. So he ended up being a casualty, but it'll be interesting to see how his return will be facing his former team in Cincinnati.
Got to worry about him throwing it, as you know.
Yep, and he can throw it.
Dre was talking a little bit about Julio Jones and AJ. He was saying AJ's maybe more finesse in some things, and Julio Jones is more physical in something. When you turn on that film, I guess what do you see out of Julio Jones?
I think Julio does a really good job of body control. Does a nice job in and out of cuts and breaks. So. It's impressive.
What's your impression of Matt Ryan at quarterback?
Well, he's done a nice job. I think the one element this year that he probably, and we see it through the rotation quite as much as other, being in the NFC. But at least I would say that what I've seen in the first 3 weeks of this season, Matt running and leaving the pocket when he needs to, and being really. Aggressive with that a little bit more maybe than what I remember last time around when we get prepared to play them.
So it seems like that could be an issue for the Bengals. Matt Ryan is running a lot more, and they're using a lot of play action for a Bengals team that could be somewhat shell-shocked after being ripped up by Christian McCaffrey for 184. It'll be interesting to see how they play that play action going into this game.
He's got some good numbers on play action. And that's based on being able to run the football. That's really what they want to do.
It's really what they want to do. Yep, they done a nice job packaging their plays, and every play comes off the kind of what we call the deep actions and so forth that come with it, or a boot or a naked, a slide, or however we want to term it for our guys.
Unfortunate injury to Ryan Glasgow, but you're able to bring in a talented defensive tackle and Adolphus Washington, a local kid. What did you guys like about him so much? This might be a question you've already answered. You might be repeating yourself, as you said. I wasn't here for that, so it's new to me.
Adolphus is a really good athlete. He's a big man and great length, and really feel like that he's still young in his NFL career and has a lot of upside. So I was excited when he agreed to come join us.
So it seems like Marvin is very excited to have Adolphus Washington, and he could be a factor. It seems like he's a guy that they were interested in that can bring some more athleticism to this defensive line front, and seems like a guy that's more than capable of replacing Ryan Glasgow after the season-ending injury.
Sean McVay said in a phone recently that he hired a clock management specialist. Is that something that you can see is helpful to a head coach, something that you've ever thought?
Now, y'all know Marvin about the snap, right? Bruh, he tried it. He really asked him about clock management. Oh, my God.
I think Sean's calling plays, so he's got, kind of a dual responsibility there. So maybe for him, that's something that he feels like he needs help with.
Marvin wanted to snap on that dude.
You've got a lot of guys from Georgia on the team. Is there a trait or skill that kind of ties those guys together?
I know I've been repetitive in this, but I think it's a credit to those guys played for, they've had great coaching at Georgia, Kirby now, but Coach Rick when he was there. And, those guys we have, I think all played for him, and they all are very quiet. They all just put their head down and do their work, and they aspire to be great. And I think that's a really good trait to have in your building. That way, they're no-nonsense players, and we have been fortunate. There's 4 or 5 other guys that have already kind of matriculated and graduated out of the building that have been here as well, that all shared those same traits, and so it's been great for us. Yes.
That seems like a Marvin Lewis football kind of guy. So that's what I always kind of look for when we get into the draft processes. They have a particular kind of guy in mind, and usually it's people that are non-nonsense football players who have an interest in playing football at a high level.
Back to Adolphus, is it feasible to see him in there on Sunday?
Again, you'll see Sunday when we put the inactives down.
Marvin never shows his hand, bro. So we'll see. We'll have to wait all the way until Sunday to see if Adolphus is going to play. Would be hard to see him playing, just that he's getting up to speed, but they really don't have a choice. I mean, unless they plan to play Sam Hubbard a lot, they don't really have anybody at the backup D tackle spot. I mean, they have Josh Tupou, but he's more of a nose tackle, so they have to get Geno some breaks there, and you would have to imagine that Adolphus would have to at least be in there, right?
Is it less challenging for someone at his spot than Thomas last week for a defensive lineman to get up to speed that quickly?
Well, again, we gotta I gotta look at sound out the play callers, the coordinators, the plan, and just what the involvement would be, and so forth. With the defensive tackle, obviously he doesn't have a big role on special teams, so there's a little bit of probably in Adolphus's favor there. Now it's just a matter of how much he can absorb, since he landed last night at 7:30.
So it seems like Adolphus does have a chance to play in this game. Marvin gives up a little bit there, but it's all going to be on him and how much he absorbs. And today I actually saw a lot of the defensive line getting him up to speed. So I would imagine that hopefully he can absorb a lot between now and Sunday. Like, this is Wednesday night as I record this, so he still has some time to absorb a lot of this new playbook.
I see better than I hear applies. You haven't even seen him there, right? I mean, you got to take a look at what you have.
Saw him walk through here for 30 minutes, so it was good. But, it's what I expected.
Yeah.
And I've watched him on tape. Was we prepared to play the Bills in the preseason? I was counting, how many guys they had. And, I thought they were going to have to let a guy go at some point. And, he was a guy I was interested in right from the start. So, that way is good.
Not surprising, because like I told you guys, when I did Prime, which is the likely, based off of past history, certain aspects and the metrics, what the Bengals typically do, Adolphus Washington that year was like at the top of the list. So not surprised that he caught Marvin Lewis's eye.
When you're making a signing like that in the middle of the season, do you ask any about him to any of his former teammates that are now on this roster?
You know what? I didn't. I think I had asked Preston about him earlier when he was first let go. So
That is dope to know because I was thinking the same thing. I actually tweeted the Bengals and said, hey, why not add Adolphus Washington? This is another guy from Cincinnati that played in Buffalo, just like Preston Brown. So dope to hear that Marvin asked about him.
And but I've known Adolphus since he was at Taft High School in 2010 and spent time with him here in 2011 before he made his decision to go to Ohio State. So, I've been very familiar with him all the way through. And, time flies.
You're a former member of the competition committee. Some backlash.
Somebody said I was paroled.
There's some backlash now going on with the roughing the passer, the intent, I guess, of the rule. What is your kind of thought process? Have they gone too far with how they're approaching it?
I don't. Again, the intent was to not land full force on the quarterback, to not pick up and dump the quarterback. And I think that there seems to be some judgments that have been off, in my opinion, in that if those are the two that were explained back in March at the owners' meeting and have come across in the videos, that this is why, these are the things. So that's what we're trying to coach. You're coaching, stay away from the quarterback's head. Don't hit the quarterback late. You can't take the quarterback to the ground in the lower leg with any kind of, you can swipe his legs, but that's it. So all those things, and now you added two other elements on it, and we're trying the best we can to keep coaching the guys that way so they can understand it and keep showing examples but boy, it's hard to separate those examples.
You can see why Marvin Lewis is kind of thrilled to be off of that committee because it's just ridiculous. Like he says, you give these guys, a set of rules, and then you add two more conditions in there, and it's just ruining the game of football. It's honestly ridiculous. With all of these penalties and flags, it's just really ridiculous. So hopefully that's something that changes. But Marv is also frustrated, obviously, with some of these changes because how can you coach your guys to even, take a quarterback down the right way if all of the ways to do it are just evolving and changing?
And unfortunately, that's the bad part. Number one, it's slowing the game. Number two, those are game-changing plays, because it's generally coming after a third down stop, fourth down, whatever it may be, and now you're giving the offense new life.
Definitely. I mean, if you guys watched any of the games this weekend, these plays are occurring on like third downs, fourth downs, and are taking and completely possibly changing the outcome of games. I mean, you look at the Buccaneers game against the Steelers, there were plays where Ben Roethlisberger gets tapped on the head, and, that drive ends up becoming a drive where Pittsburgh scores. So, like Marvin says, like these new rules are affecting the outcomes of games.
And it's maybe not deserving. Both sides, have an obligation there.
Feel for the officials in that fact because it's a tough judgment to make for them.
No, I think the official should make the judgment when he sees it and not think that he saw it.
Right.
Ooh, Marvin throwing some fire there.
The third downs defensively obviously haven't been what you wanted so far. How do you assess where that's at and why that's been such an issue so far?
Well, we've got to execute better and understand both the plan and how it applies to the personnel, the formation, the development of the play, etc.
I think that was a great question by Paul Danner Jr. of the Enquirer. The Bengals have struggled on third down. He's pointed it out on his podcast. This is something that has been an issue for them. As a defense, they've been on the field the most, or near the most, in the NFL, and they're giving up a high percentage. So that's definitely going to be a key going into this game because it was something that definitely hurt them in the last game against Carolina because every time they got a third down, they were able to convert.
Is there any leeway or benefit of the doubt giving new coordinator early in the season? You're all trying to figure all that out. Is there any of that, or is there just...
Well, it's a difference in winning and losing games. So we got a lot of new, but you got to get it right, and our execution has to be better. And it's got to match up. Those are key points in the game. That's just as key when we won games as it is when you lose games.
Is part of the concern with that too, over the course of the season, you end up playing so many plays defensively. I know last year that was you guys had a big.
You play more plays, but I think, early on it's a chance now to write it. We're doing a lot of things really good. We're 5th or 6th in the league in first down. So plays on first down. So that's the thing. It's we got to put it all together. And, we got to understand that once in a while the guy's going to fall forward and make a first down. But we've had more than those share of the other ones that were the yardage has been longer, and the defense has got to win those. You got to win 70% of those, and we haven't.
What is it about Tyler Eifert, maybe his attitude, that's allowed him to come back from so many injuries and be playing at the level he's playing now?
Well, Tyler's a gifted player, and sometimes, unfortunately, things happen and injuries occur when you play this game, and he's worked really hard to keep battling back, and give him credit, and he does the things that the maintenance that he's continued to do. We're 9 weeks through football now, and I'm sure he feels a little different than when we started, 63 days ago, whatever it was, that where he is now compared to where he was when we got started that Wednesday. So, but he has to maintain that and all the way through, and we're doing the best job we can of managing him through the week in practice and somewhat managing his snaps on Sundays.
So that's good to hear that Marvin Lewis gives a glowing review to Tyler Eifert, who has been pretty well this season. He's held up. He's been very durable. They've implemented a new regimen for him in terms of practice and in terms of game snaps. He's actually shared a lot with CJ Uzoma and Tyler Kroft, so that just seems to be paying off. So glad to hear that Eifert is okay. If you guys remember my take back in the day, I was telling people to calm down about Tyler Eifert. So clear to see that Eifert is fully healthy and is executing his plan.
And the other two guys are doing a great job of picking those snaps up and being productive with them.
So much of that has to be mental, right? To keep coming back when you're grinding through rehab.
Well, you want to play this game. These guys, it's a job and it's a profession, and you want to do it as long as you're able to. God-given ability allows you to do it, and so yeah, that's part of it. And they want to be out there, and a little bit of it ought to be fun too, and and that's the thing. They enjoy the fun part and the accomplishment part and everything that way. So that's good. He's been at a high level. He wants to get back to that level, and he's going out week after week and doing it.
In today's NFL, is one of the biggest differences for a head coach. Back not that many years ago, there were no GPSs tracking speed and how many steps run. And you guys can monitor players and massage their work regimen during the course of a week. That was unheard of, a decade ago or 2 or 3 decades ago, whatever those decades are now. But that was unheard. Is that one of the biggest changes now for?
Well, it's really been, in my opinion, for me, it's been extremely helpful. Where we are with the heat and humidity that we deal with most day, particularly early on when we get started, it's very helpful for us to monitor and maintain and do the best job we can to, really prevail over their health. And, what happens is you get maybe taxed at a position because guys aren't able to take as many reps and so forth. So one guy gets overworked and so forth. So we do try to make sure we pull back the next day, and also reminding them on our recovery days that, for when practice is over, they've got to work hard at recovering and the next day and as we get through the edge of the week and so forth. So we've tried to, you got to credit, the training staff and everything they do, and the strength staff for what they're doing, and sports science and everybody in this building now for trying to manage these guys and their workloads and their outputs, and so it is important, I think, and our guys have taken to it, which has been good. They understand it, and so we want them to play for the next 10 years at a high level, and sometimes I want them to play tomorrow, but sometimes I gotta be careful with that.
Is that league wide? I mean, is everybody are the Bengals more cutting edge than others, or is it more?
I don't know. I can't. I just know that you know, our people have done a great job of providing me with information, and you know, sometimes. And I give them the stiff arm, you know, because sometimes I think you got to do this to play NFL football.
So it's good to hear that Marvin thinks that they have some good resources on their staff in terms of certain technology. So that's good to hear. It seems like Mike Brown has invested in some quality equipment for them to help maintain and track their players' production.
You know, that I tell them it's yeah, you know what, that's part of being an NFL player. They got to be able to stand the workload at some times, but you know, but we want to make sure that, you know, that we maintain their health through the season. Anything else?
Joe was jogging a little bit last week. Is his rehab?
He's doing great. Joe's doing great, and you know, I don't know where he'll be listed at this week since I don't do that. But we're very happy and pleased with he and Billy's progress. You know, very positive reports. And, you know, we have a chance to have all hands on deck here soon. And that's exciting. But
so it seems like Joe Mixon and Billy Price are progressing well from their respective surgeries. So me personally, I wouldn't expect them this week. But it seems like they could be back next week.
Joe's youth. And everything, I think, is playing a big part. I think Billy's youth is playing a big part. And so, you know, we'll keep the glass half full and keep moving on.
Are the other guys pretty much day to day?
Yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape.
You know, my next question was going to be any report on AJ.
AJ will be fine.
So it seems like he's just giving a little brief insight to AJ Green and his status, so we'll have to stay tuned and see if AJ is able to play this weekend. He did have somewhat of an injury to his hip and groin area, or the pelvic bone area, so we'll have to see what happens.
Okay.
That's what he said last week.
He'll be fine. So it was probably, I think, you know, a little bit of an aggravation of an injury he may have had earlier in college, and you know, so. But seemed to come around very quickly with the anti-inflammatories and so forth. So, you know, so we're very fortunate with that, you know. So I didn't know what he, you know, had injured. He was complaining about both sides. So,
yeah, it was listed as a groin, but he said it was a hip maybe.
And then he is both hips, and, you know, that he landed awkwardly on his shoulder, and, you know, I mean, just... you know.
That play was crazy, though. He, landed crazy during that play that he got injured on, so it's kind of understandable that AJ wouldn't know exactly what was wrong with him.
Sometimes football's ugly.
I imagine that's about as big of a sigh of relief as you can have when you start getting positive reports about 18, though.
Yeah, those are positive reports, no doubt.
Definitely.
But, you know, 18's a warrior. You know, I don't know if he missed the last time we played the Falcons, I guess, and I know he didn't go the last time we played him in the preseason in Atlanta, and he wasn't here the last time before that. So, you know, I think it's his first trip back to Georgia. All of our guys, maybe. Gino, I guess, was in 10. So, but Clint and he and Cordy, you know, I guess Cordy may have been there in Buffalo.
Marvin, how did John Ross respond to Sunday? What have you seen from him?
Well, we haven't seen a whole lot yet, but I expect John to, you know, free his mind. The In Vogue song.
So it seems like Marvin expects John Ross to be back and to, in a sense, improve based off of last week. But I just wanted to bring this to you guys. I will come back with some more content for you. But let me know in the comments what you thought of Marvin Lewis's press conference, and be sure to like this video. And as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.